Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner of Onondaga County, and welcome to Commissioner in a Car. Today is Tuesday, May 27th. I'm coming to you one day late because, well, yesterday was Memorial Day and I wanted to enjoy it with my family, but not that this is not enjoyable, it is. But also, I wanted to wait till today, because today, Tuesday, May 27th, is the last day for independent nominating petitions. That's right. This is one of the last ways for people to get on the ballot for the general election this November. So what are independent nominating petitions? Well, independent nominating petitions are if you do not want to run for a major party line, or you want to run in addition to a major party line, you can go out and pass petitions to people who have not signed petitions already for the major parties and get enough signatures to get on the ballot for the general election. Now, because this is not a party line, there's different signature requirements. Instead of the number of registered voters for a political party, it's the number of people who voted in the governor's election, and 5% of that. So it's a different formula. So sometimes it's actually more signatures, most notably outside the city of Syracuse, because turnout is so high outside the city of Syracuse that the petition numbers are higher out there. But inside the city of Syracuse, the petition numbers are lower because turnout is not as high inside the city of Syracuse for a general election. So the signature requirements are different. The filing period is different. Obviously, designating petitions, which is where party petitions were filed, that was the end of February to the beginning of April. And the independent nominating petitions start in the middle of April and go to the end of May. And this year, the filing period was May 21st through May 27th. So people could have filed throughout all of that time period, but most of them filed today. Being the last day, a lot of people went out on Memorial Day weekend, got the number of signatures that they needed, and filed today. So in the whole filing period, 22 different petitions were filed, representing 36 different candidates, because some petitions would have multiple people on the petition. Now, it is still possible that others will file, but that means that they filed by mail. So 99% of the people, 99.999% of the people will file at the Board of Elections. But some people will file by mail. Maybe they couldn't get into the board before 5 o'clock, but they could get down to a post office or so on and so forth. Those have to be postmarked today and received by the Board of Elections by Thursday. So we'll see what happens there, if any more come in. But 22 petitions have been filed, 36 different candidates. And I have the list here. This list, if you want to get a full list of everybody that filed, you can go to on our website, onvote.net, under the filings page. Not only will it have a full list, it'll have on whether there's objections on those and the number of signatures for all of those. But I'm going to hit the highlights for you of all these independents, because they're filed all over the spectrum. Now, I mentioned before that it's either if you're running for a party or not wanting to be on a party line, or in addition to a party line. And that's important because in New York we have fusion voting, or I call it confusion voting, but that's my little joke. But the reason is that you can appear multiple times on the ballot under different party lines, but you can only appear twice. If you have two recognized party lines, and the recognized parties are Democrat, Republican, Conservative, or Working Families, you can appear on two of those But if you only appear on one, you can get an independent nominating petition and appear a second time on the ballot. Now, if you had all 4 of the recognized parties, you could appear 4 times, but nobody has more than 2 on the recognized parties. So the independent petitions are for people who did not get a second line. They, either a Democrat or Republican that didn't get endorsed by the Conservative or Working Families Party, or are on no party lines that didn't bother to walk petitions. And that's why, or in some cases, were thrown off the first designating petition. So that's why they go out and walk these independent signatures. So the highlights is that, a lot of villages do this. We have several villages that run in November that do independent signatures. Solve, Derek Bianchi, the mayor of Solve, who's running on the Republican line, also did independent signatures. I believe he didn't get the conservative line, but if he did, it would roll up to the conservative line, so there's no reason to file. Although we did have that happen in another race, and I'll go into that in a second. Then we saw uncontested slates in Camillus for the village of Camillus file. The village of Tully filed a slate, and the village of East Syracuse filed a slate. We then have contested races out in the village of Baldwinsville. You may remember that the village of Baldwinsville moved its elections from March last year to November. This is the first November election. They have 2 filled vacancies on the Justice and Village Board. These elections will happen in November. There are 2 separate sets of independent petitions out there. So there will be a general election contest on that. Now, in all of these villages, there still may be major party nominations. The parties vote by caucus in most of these villages, except for the village of Liverpool. They've already had their petitions, their Democratic and Republican petitions were already turned in. So, we may see, actually, I think the Republicans in the village of Liverpool, they can caucus. So they can still add candidates via caucus. And then the parties could add candidates in these other races or endorse some of the other candidates that are out there. They have until the middle of July for that. So we still have some ballot access going on because towns and villages can caucus to get on the ballot if they're a caucus town or village. And we'll go over that more in July when the end of the caucus period happens. But the villages did their independent petitions. We also saw independent petitions from slates of candidates and these are usually Democratic slates of candidates in Camillus, the town of Camillus, the town of Onondaga, filed independent petitions and to get their candidates on the ballot because those towns are going to caucus for the Democrats, but have not caucused yet. In the Working Families Party, they do not caucus. They petition, and a lot of times these smaller town races, the people haven't decided to run when the Working Families is doing their petition. So if they want a second line on the ballot, this is a way to do that. And we saw an independent nominating petition in the town of Salina for Lisa Paul. You may have saw that was the missing petition that was in the paper. She's also running on a Democratic OTB to get back the Democratic line, but she also did an independent petition just in case. And then we get into the city of Syracuse. And this is where the most interesting independent petitions happen. We'll start with County Ledge District 9. In County Ledge District 9, we had 3 different candidates file independent petitions. Bonke, who is the Republican and conservative candidate, filed. Nicole Watts, who's the Working Families Party candidate, filed for a second line. And she was the one who inherited the Working Families petitions from Palmer Harvey when Palmer Harvey withdrew. And then Kenyatta Collins filed an independent nominating petition. Now, Kenyatta Collins was the person who got the Democratic petitions once Palmer Harvey withdrew, but Then when the court ruled those petitions no good, she was left without any line on the ballot. So then she filed petitions. So now Bonke, who is the Republican, already has the Republican and conservative lines in that race. So filing an independent petition is, I don't want to say pointless. I'm sure you went out and worked very hard, but it's not quite done with that yet. So and since he is on the Republican conservative line, he can only be on two lines. That independent petition will roll up to either the Republican or conservative line, depending on what he picks. Then you have City of Syracuse mayor. Three candidates filed petitions for Syracuse mayor. Tim Rudd filed last week. Alfonso Davis filed today, and then a third candidate filed today, but he did not file enough signatures. You need 1,400 signatures. He filed only about, I think, 300 or something like that. This happens from time to time. So Tim Rudd and Alfonso Davis will appear on the general election ballot, pending any challenges. Now, Mr. Rudd filed last week, so challenges at the Board of Elections were due on Friday or by mail today. None of those were received, so unless a court challenge comes, he'll be on the general election ballot. Alfonso Davis just filed today, so regular petition challenges may come later this week and into next week. So the deadline throughout the entire process will be Thursday, but a court challenge could come anywhere from 2 weeks from today on either of these things. So are they on the ballot? As of right now, yes, but things can change. As we saw, Mr. Davis was taken off the ballot in the designating process under the Democratic petition. So there's that. We also saw independent petitions filed in District 2 and in District 4 for Syracuse Common Council. These are petitions filed. I'm back. Sorry. I'm going to add this on. My connection was poor and it cut off in the middle. So I was talking about Second District Council. Second District Council has 3 petitions that were filed. Well, 2 petitions filed today. One, the Democratic petition last week, but one of them did not have enough signatures, so he's not going to be on the ballot. The other one is on the ballot as of right now. And we saw the same thing happen in 4th District Council, where, well, not the same thing because only one candidate filed today, and they have enough signatures pending any challenges, so there'll be a race in 4th District. In both 2nd District and 4th District, no Republican was running. The Republican was thrown off the ballot in the 4th District, so this would create general election campaigns in those seats. So that's all I have for independent nominating petitions. So what's the challenge process going forward? Well, for all the petitions that were filed today, which is most of them, 3 days from now, which is Friday the 30th, a general objection has to come in, and then 6 days after that, Thursday, June 5th, specific objections have to come in. Then the Board of Elections has to rule on them. You may know that we're very busy right now, so we may not get to all of those rulings right away. But also, they could go to court 2 weeks from today. Any petition filed could go to court June 10th. That's the deadline for that. So there's still, while most of these are probably going to survive, there's still some question out there. And that's why they appear on the general election ballot, not the primary, which is coming up, because we have plenty of time to decide whether they're going to be on the ballot or not and whether these challenges are heard. So I'm going to leave you with all of that. I'm going to tack this on to the end of the Facebook Live. I'll probably end up taking down the Facebook Live. There you go. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, great. Then you get the whole kit and caboodle. So we got a lot of stuff going on at the Board of Elections. Next week, I'll be back to you on Monday, June 2nd. And I'll be talking about a preview of the Town of Lysander special election that they're holding the following Monday on June 9th about getting rid of their highway superintendent. Then June 9th, I'll be talking about that election, but also the start of early voting for the primary that starts on June 14th. And then the next week on June 17th, on June 16th, I'll do the pod, but on June 17th will be the North Syracuse Village elections. So we got a lot of stuff going on. And at the Board of Elections, including, all those 3 elections and our regular work and these petitions. So stay tuned. Go to DustinZarney.com to like and subscribe. You'll get an email notification if you subscribe every time I do content or election news updates. Thank you very much for tuning in and enjoy your week. Bye-bye.